This is Professor Michael Chapman. I'm one of the most experienced IVF doctors in Australia. I believe that an important part that I can contribute is to educate patients in relation to fertility, infertility, and all that involves. These series of podcasts help to educate you. I hope they are helpful to you. If you wish to know more, however, I'm more than happy to have you contact me via email, which is profmchapman@gmail.com, or make an appointment to see me on 9138 4222.
I know that there's one topic that is often asked about, and it's probably worth your input on, and that is success rates. What is your clinic success rate? And more importantly, how is it measured? Because some clinics measure them differently, and that's an important thing to know, isn't it?
What you read on people's websites, or certainly up to about 2 or 3 years ago, was fairly random. If you've got a website, you're going to say the best news. Most clinics were honest in what they did, but there was highly selected data. The marketing people obviously want to portray the best picture of the clinic. What has happened in the last 12 months is that there is now a national agreement about how one puts their results on a website. So it's pretty uniform across Australia now as to how you report your success rates. In addition to that, there is actually now a specific website where the results from the national database are put up on a regular basis. However, when you go on that site, unless you're a scientist, you'd be a bit confused about what it's all about. And even scientists probably are going to be confused because they use 5 different parameters. And from clinic to clinic, you will see variations in their position in a sense in the league tables, depending on what parameter is used. So, for instance, there's a parameter that looks at the success rate per embryo transfer. And what that excludes are people who never got to an embryo transfer. There's also data based around starting a cycle. What's the pregnancy rate if you start a cycle, and all the way through to a pregnancy or a not pregnancy? And about 20% of patients actually never get to having an embryo transfer, particularly in the older age groups. So those figures always look really bad if a clinic does a lot of older patients. And what I'm leading up to is, yes, there are lots of ways of expressing success rates. There is now a degree of uniformity on how they're done, but in behind those results, ultimately, it's the type of patients who go to a particular clinic. You know, my pregnancy rates are not the best in the world. Why not? Because I see a lot of second opinions that people have failed elsewhere. So I'm already putting myself behind the 8 ball. In that group of patients, I'm obviously getting pregnancies, but not as if they were fresh first cycle patients. That's our best chance of success. If your age groups, and these data on the National My Success Rate website have broad bands of ages, and because age is the biggest discriminator in terms of chances of success. A clinic that is in the band, looking at bands between 38 and 43, I think is one band. Now, a clinic that does a lot of 40-year-olds is not going to do as well in that band as someone who predominantly does 38-year-olds. And there are clinics around who won't treat women at 42, 43 because the chances of success are low, but that means their results are immediately biased compared with everybody else. So there's no perfect way of comparing clinics in terms of success rates. Most of us are in the same ballpark of 1 or 2 or 3 percentage points differences. So ultimately, choosing a clinic because of its success rates doesn't necessarily mean you as an individual are going to get the best outcome. What you need to find is a good clinic with a good doctor, generally geographically close to you for convenience, takes some of the stress out of the whole process. Just make sure that they're in at least the middle of range of the national success rates.
Prof, we have a question from Pina. She says, I have one girl, 13 years. I've been trying to conceive after that and struggling. 2 miscarriages, and after 2 IVF cycles where I found out I have chromosomal abnormalities. I have multiple fibroids, but I'm told not a threat to pregnancy. Tube tests done 3 times, all came back negative. What should I do now?
Probably sit down with someone who will go through all of that history, which sounds a little bit complicated. And I'd like, for instance, to see what happened in those IVF cycles to really give you a proper answer. I wouldn't give up yet, unless you're 45. But, at anybody, up to the age of 42, 43, I think it's worth pursuing further.
And what was the number of the clinic again if they want to call in?
9598 5505.
And don't forget that you can access all the previous episodes by going to our website www.theivfjourney.com and select IVF Journey Podcast from the navigation menu.